The journey into active imagination begins with recognizing and gradually dissolving the protective barriers our ego has built over time. While these defenses initially serve to shield us from psychological harm, they often solidify into rigid structures that limit our access to the deeper layers of our unconscious. Acting as a gatekeeper, the ego maintains these defenses through mechanisms such as denial, projection, rationalization, and repression. These protective patterns typically form in childhood as adaptive responses to difficult experiences. Over time, these patterns become so deeply ingrained that we may mistake them for our true personality. Common defense mechanisms include intellectualization, where emotions are avoided by focusing on analysis, displacement, where uncomfortable feelings are redirected toward safer targets, and compartmentalization, where conflicting aspects of our experience are separated to reduce internal tension. The first step in overcoming these defenses is to become aware of their presence and operation in our daily lives. When we find ourselves quickly dismissing emotions, avoiding certain topics, or steering clear of particular experiences, we are likely witnessing our ego's defense mechanisms at work. While these realizations may be uncomfortable, they provide valuable opportunities for growth and transformation. Rather than attempting to break through these defenses forcefully, which often leads to increased resistance, active imagination allows us to engage with them in a constructive and compassionate way. We can visualize these defenses as characters or figures and engage in dialogue with them, seeking to understand their protective role while gently encouraging greater openness and flexibility. This practice creates a safe space for exploring what lies beyond our defensive structures. Through focused reverie while maintaining conscious awareness, we begin to encounter the emotions, memories, and aspects of ourselves that the ego has worked to keep hidden. Since our defensive patterns are not merely mental but also deeply embedded in the body, physical sensations such as tension, discomfort, or anxiety may arise as we approach these psychological boundaries. Rather than resisting these sensations, we can use them as guides, helping us identify areas where our ego's influence is particularly strong. By staying present with these experiences and maintaining a curious, accepting attitude, we gradually release these ingrained patterns. Symbolism and imagery play a crucial role in this process, as our defenses may manifest in active imagination as walls, armor, or protective creatures. Engaging with these images allows for their natural transformation, leading to unexpected insights and profound shifts in our psychological landscape. The goal of dissolving ego defenses is not to eliminate the ego but to cultivate a more fluid and permeable boundary between conscious and unconscious aspects of the psyche. As our defenses soften, we gain greater access to the wisdom and energy of the unconscious while maintaining healthy psychological boundaries. This flexibility fosters a more authentic and dynamic engagement with both our inner and outer worlds. Achieving this balance requires both courage and gentleness. Moving too aggressively can reinforce our defenses, while excessive caution may hinder meaningful progress. By consistently practicing active imagination alongside self-reflection and patience, we create the conditions for our defensive structures to evolve and transform naturally. As this process unfolds, we gain greater freedom to explore the depths of our psyche and express our true nature more fully in the world. Lesson 1: Integrating the shadow aspects of personality. One of the most essential yet challenging aspects of personal growth is integrating the shadow, the hidden, rejected, or denied parts of ourselves. As Carl Jung's inner work revealed, the shadow holds aspects of our psyche that we have suppressed, often out of fear, shame, or social conditioning. These aspects often manifest as qualities we strongly dislike in others, as we tend to project our unacknowledged traits onto the external world. Shadow integration begins with recognizing that the things that trigger strong reactions in us often reflect disowned parts of ourselves. For example, a person whose arrogance frustrates us might be mirroring our own suppressed need for recognition, while someone we perceive as lazy may be highlighting our own unresolved relationship with rest and relaxation. Through careful self-observation, we can identify these projections and reclaim the aspects of ourselves that we have rejected. Engaging in shadow work requires immense courage and honesty. We must be willing to confront the parts of ourselves that we have deemed unacceptable, including emotions such as anger, jealousy, and greed. Rather than continuing to suppress these traits, shadow integration encourages us to acknowledge their existence, explore their origins, and understand their role within our psyche. Active imagination serves as a powerful tool in this process, allowing us to engage in dialogue with our shadow aspects. By visualizing these traits as characters or symbols and interacting with them, we gain insight into their hidden messages and wisdom. This practice may involve imagining a shadowy figure and asking what it wants us to understand, or writing from the perspective of our suppressed qualities. The key is to approach these exercises with curiosity and compassion rather than judgment. As we begin to integrate our shadow aspects, we often discover that they contain valuable qualities we have unknowingly repressed. For instance, suppressed anger may hold the potential for setting healthy boundaries, while rejected selfishness may reveal the importance of self-care. What once seemed purely negative begins to reveal its constructive potential. Physical symptoms and recurring life patterns can also indicate shadow material seeking integration. Dreams frequently offer insight into our shadow, presenting it in the form of different characters and scenarios that challenge our conscious beliefs. Paying attention to these unconscious messages provides guidance for our journey of self-discovery. However, integration does not mean acting out every impulse or giving in to destructive behaviors. Instead, it involves developing awareness of these hidden aspects and finding conscious, constructive ways to express their energy. This could mean transforming competitiveness into creative drive, using jealousy as motivation for personal growth, or channeling anger into productive change. The reward of shadow work is greater psychological wholeness and vitality. When we no longer waste energy suppressing and projecting, we unlock more of our life force. Relationships improve as we take responsibility for our reactions and withdraw misplaced judgments. We cultivate deeper compassion for ourselves and others, understanding that every person embodies the full range of human qualities. Shadow integration is not a single achievement but an ongoing process. As we grow, new layers of the shadow may emerge for further exploration. The key is to remain open and curious, recognizing that the aspects we resist often hold the keys to our transformation. By consistently engaging in shadow work, we move toward greater authenticity and psychological freedom, embracing the full spectrum of who we are. Lesson 2: Taking radical responsibility for one's actions and choices. The path to psychological wholeness requires a fundamental shift in how we perceive our lives and decisions. Taking radical responsibility involves transcending patterns of blame, victimhood, and external attribution, common tendencies that keep us from realizing our full potential. This chapter delves into the essence of psychological responsibility and its vital role in individuation. Embracing radical responsibility means recognizing that we are the primary architects of our life experiences. This does not imply that we control external events or that we are to blame for every circumstance. Rather, it acknowledges our ability to shape our reality through our responses, interpretations, and choices. While this perspective can be liberating, it also challenges us to step away from the comfort of blaming external factors and instead embrace our inherent power to create change. Psychological responsibility extends beyond mere accountability for our actions. It encompasses our thoughts, emotions, and the unconscious patterns that influence our behavior. When we blame others or circumstances for our struggles, we unknowingly relinquish our power to transform them. By reclaiming responsibility, we regain the ability to alter our lives in meaningful ways. A crucial aspect of this process is breaking free from the victim mentality. While it may offer temporary relief, adopting a victim narrative ultimately reinforces feelings of powerlessness and dependence on external circumstances. By recognizing how our choices, beliefs, and actions contribute to our reality, we begin to see possibilities for change where we once saw only limitations. Developing awareness around decision-making is another essential component of radical responsibility. Each moment presents choices, whether we consciously recognize them or not. These range from immediate reactions to situations to long-term patterns that shape our relationships and life trajectory. Bringing consciousness to these choices enables us to make decisions that align with our authentic selves. Radical responsibility also requires an honest evaluation of how we engage with accountability. This means identifying subtle ways we may evade responsibility, such as procrastination, blame shifting, or making excuses. It involves cultivating the ability to acknowledge, "This is my situation, and I have the power to choose my response, even in difficult circumstances." Practicing radical responsibility necessitates adopting new habits of thought and behavior. This might involve regular self-reflection, assessing the consequences of our choices, and responding consciously rather than reacting impulsively. It also requires developing the emotional resilience to navigate the discomfort that arises when fully owning our actions and their impact. This approach often leads to profound self-discoveries. As we take responsibility for our choices, we may uncover behavioral patterns that were previously unconscious. This heightened self-awareness becomes a powerful tool for transformation, allowing us to make more intentional decisions aligned with our true values. Lesson 3: Developing a relationship with the inner self. One of Carl Jung's most significant contributions to depth psychology is the concept of the inner self. Unlike the ego, which manages our conscious identity in daily life, the self is the central organizing force of the entire psyche, encompassing both conscious and unconscious dimensions. This chapter explores how to cultivate a meaningful relationship with this deeper aspect of our being through active imagination. The self often reveals itself through symbols, dreams, and moments of intuitive insight. In dreams, it may appear as a wise elder, a divine child, or other powerful figures imbued with a sense of mystery and significance. Through active imagination, we can intentionally engage with these representations, forging a connection between our conscious mind and the self's profound wisdom. Developing this relationship begins with distinguishing the self's voice from other inner dialogues. Communications from the self often carry a unique depth, wisdom, and timelessness, standing apart from the fleeting chatter of everyday thoughts. With practice, we become more attuned to this resonance, learning to recognize when the self is attempting to communicate with us. One effective way to initiate contact with the self is by creating a sacred space and dedicated time for inner dialogue. This may involve setting aside moments for meditation, journaling, or creative expression. During these sessions, we consciously invite communication from the deeper layers of our psyche, perhaps by posing a question or contemplating a personal challenge. We then remain open, allowing images, emotions, or insights to emerge. Trust is a crucial element of this process. Many individuals initially struggle with doubts, questioning whether they are genuinely connecting with the self or simply engaging in imagination. However, by maintaining an open and curious mindset, while also developing discernment, trust naturally strengthens over time. As we experience the depth and transformative potential of these encounters, our confidence in the process grows. The self often challenges our existing perspectives, guiding us toward choices that may contradict our ego's desires or societal expectations. While this tension can be uncomfortable, it is essential for growth, pushing us beyond our conditioned limitations and aligning us more closely with our authentic nature. Consistent practices help to deepen this connection. Keeping a dream journal, engaging in reflective walks in nature, or creating artwork inspired by inner experiences are all effective ways to strengthen the bond with the self. The key is sincerity and persistence. The self responds to dedicated effort, gradually revealing deeper wisdom as we demonstrate our readiness to receive it. Grounding this connection in physical experience is also valuable. Practices such as movement, breath work, and body awareness help integrate the self's insights into our daily lives, preventing our relationship with it from becoming purely intellectual. As this bond deepens, we may notice profound shifts in how we perceive ourselves and the world. Decision-making becomes clearer as we learn to trust the self's guidance. Synchronicities may increase, reflecting an alignment between our inner and outer realities. We may feel naturally drawn to experiences and relationships that support our personal growth and evolution. Working with the inner self requires patience and humility. The journey is not linear but cyclical, leading us through deepening layers of awareness and understanding. At times, the self communicates through paradox or symbolic imagery, urging us to expand beyond conventional ways of knowing. The ultimate goal of this relationship is individuation, the process of fully becoming who we are meant to be. Through ongoing dialogue with the self, we integrate more of our potential, bringing greater authenticity and purpose to our lives. This path presents both challenges and profound rewards, ultimately leading to a richer, more meaningful existence. Lesson 4. Breaking free from collective patterns of thinking. The collective unconscious, as described by Carl Jung, contains shared patterns of thought, behavior, and perception that shape human experience. While these collective structures offer a sense of cultural identity and belonging, they can also restrict personal growth and inhibit authentic self-expression. Liberating ourselves from these ingrained patterns requires conscious effort and a willingness to question deeply embedded assumptions about reality. Our thoughts and beliefs are heavily influenced by societal norms, education, and cultural narratives. These collective patterns operate beneath our conscious awareness, shaping our perceptions, values, and decisions without our explicit consent. They manifest in various ways, from societal ideals about success and happiness to ingrained beliefs about relationships and self-worth. The first step toward breaking free is recognizing the extent of this influence. Developing awareness of how collective thinking shapes our lives allows us to begin the process of liberation. This involves observing when we accept certain beliefs or behaviors without questioning their relevance to our personal experiences. For example, many individuals pursue career paths or adopt lifestyles based on societal definitions of success rather than their true passions and values. Active imagination serves as a powerful tool for identifying and releasing collective conditioning. By engaging in symbolic dialogue with these unconscious influences, we can explore their impact on our psyche and gain clarity about our authentic desires. This practice might involve visualizing these collective forces as distinct characters or images and engaging in an inner conversation with them. Another effective technique is examining our emotional responses to situations that provoke strong reactions. These intense feelings often signal areas where collective beliefs exert a powerful hold on our thinking. By staying present with these emotions and exploring their origins, we can differentiate between authentic personal responses and conditioned societal influences. The process of liberation also involves rewiring our thought patterns through conscious choice and repeated practice. Each time we recognize a collective belief and choose to respond differently, we strengthen our capacity for independent thinking. This might mean questioning mainstream assumptions, exploring alternative perspectives, or developing unconventional solutions to challenges. Engaging with symbols and archetypes through active imagination helps us understand the deeper structure of collective patterns while providing tools for transformation. By consciously interacting with these universal themes, we shift from being unconsciously driven by them to relating to them in an empowered and intentional way. Cultural conditioning often creates resistance to independent thinking, making it crucial to cultivate inner strength and self-trust. Developing confidence in our own perceptions and insights, especially when they diverge from widely accepted views, is essential for true self-liberation. Active imagination supports this by providing direct experiences of our inner wisdom, reinforcing our ability to trust our own perspective. As we free ourselves from collective conditioning, we may experience moments of uncertainty or isolation. However, this period of disorientation is a natural part of the transformation process. It signifies the shedding of outdated mental frameworks and the emergence of a more authentic way of being. Breaking free from collective thinking is not about rejecting society entirely but about consciously choosing which influences align with our personal truth. By doing so, we reclaim our autonomy, cultivate genuine self-expression, and create a life that reflects our deepest values and aspirations. This is a natural part of the process as we learn to navigate between personal truth and collective reality. Supporting ourselves during these transitions might involve finding like-minded individuals, maintaining regular active imagination practice, and cultivating patience with the transformation process. The goal is not to completely reject collective patterns but to develop a conscious relationship with them. Some collective patterns serve valuable purposes in maintaining social cohesion and shared understanding. The key is developing the discrimination to choose which patterns serve our authentic development and which ones limit it. Through consistent practice and awareness, we can gradually establish our own unique way of perceiving and interacting with reality while maintaining healthy connections with our cultural context. This balance allows us to contribute our authentic gifts to the collective while remaining true to our individual path of development. The freedom gained through this process opens new possibilities for creative expression and authentic living. As we release the unconscious influence of collective patterns, we discover our capacity for original thinking and innovative solutions to personal and collective challenges. This liberation ultimately serves not only our individual growth, but also contributes to the evolution of collective consciousness itself. Lesson 5: Discovering Personal Meaning and Purpose. The journey toward personal meaning and purpose lies at the heart of Jung's individuation process. Through active imagination, we gain access to the deeper layers of the psyche where our authentic calling resides. This chapter explores how to uncover and align with your unique purpose using the tools of depth psychology. The search for meaning begins with understanding that purpose isn't something external to be found, but rather an inner reality to be uncovered through careful attention to the soul's stirrings. Active imagination provides a direct channel to access these deeper currents of meaning that flow beneath our everyday awareness. By engaging regularly with our inner images and symbols, we begin to discern patterns and themes that point toward our personal destiny. Through active imagination, we can engage in dialogue with inner figures who represent different aspects of our purpose. These may appear as wise guides, teachers, or symbolic representations of our calling. Pay particular attention to recurring symbols or themes that emerge during these encounters, as they often contain vital clues about your life's direction. A persistent image of a healing garden, for instance, might indicate a calling toward nurturing and restoration work. The individuation process reveals that each person has a unique contribution to make to the world. This isn't necessarily about grand achievements or public recognition, but rather about expressing your authentic nature in whatever form it takes. Some may be called to artistic creation, others to teaching, healing, or countless other expressions of purpose. The key is recognizing that your purpose aligns with your natural inclinations and deepest values. Active imagination can help dissolve false purposes imposed by family, society, or ego expectations. Through inner dialogue, we can distinguish between authentic calling and conditioned responses. This often involves confronting and releasing outdated beliefs about what we should do with our lives. As these layers of conditioning fall away, our true purpose becomes increasingly clear. The process of discovering purpose requires patience and trust in the unconscious. Rather than forcing insights, allow them to emerge naturally through consistent practice. Keep a journal of your active imagination sessions, noting recurring themes, emotions, and insights. Over time, patterns will emerge that illuminate your path. Pay special attention to experiences that bring a sense of energy, aliveness, and meaningful connection. Purpose often reveals itself through synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that seem to guide us toward our destiny. Active imagination heightens our awareness of these synchronistic events and helps us interpret their significance. When inner work aligns with outer circumstances, we experience a powerful sense of being on the right path. Working with active imagination also reveals that purpose isn't static but evolves throughout life. What feels meaningful in one phase may shift in another. The key is maintaining an ongoing dialogue with the unconscious to stay aligned with your evolving purpose. This requires regular practice and a willingness to adjust course as new insights emerge. Creating meaning involves more than just discovering purpose. It requires active engagement with the symbols and experiences that arise from the unconscious. Through active imagination, we learn to create meaning by connecting our individual journey with universal patterns and archetypal themes. This process helps us understand our role in the larger tapestry of life. Personal meaning and purpose emerge not just from what we do, but from how deeply we engage with life's experiences. Active imagination helps us develop the capacity for meaningful engagement by teaching us to see beneath surface appearances to the symbolic significance of events and relationships. This deeper perception enriches our experience and helps us live more purposefully regardless of external circumstances. Discovering purpose through active imagination is not about reaching a final destination, but about engaging in an ongoing process of discovery and refinement. Each insight leads to new questions, each answer opens new doors of exploration. By maintaining regular practice and staying open to the guidance of the unconscious, we continue to deepen our understanding of our unique calling and contribution to the world. Lesson 6: Embracing both light and dark aspects of existence. The journey towards psychological wholeness requires a profound acceptance of life's inherent dualities. Jung emphasized that true integration involves embracing both the light and dark aspects of our existence rather than attempting to eliminate or suppress what we perceive as negative. This delicate balance forms the foundation of genuine psychological maturity and spiritual development. Our modern society often promotes a one-sided view of human nature, encouraging the pursuit of purely positive experiences while rejecting or pathologizing the darker elements of life. This cultural bias creates an artificial split in our psyche, leading to internal conflict and psychological fragmentation. The practice of active imagination offers a powerful method for reconciling these opposing forces within ourselves. When we begin to work with both light and dark aspects, we first need to recognize that these polarities exist within us simultaneously. The light represents our conscious ideals, aspirations, and socially acceptable qualities, while the dark encompasses our fears, aggressive impulses, and aspects of ourselves that we typically prefer to hide. Neither is inherently good or bad. Both are essential components of our complete being. Through active imagination, we can engage in dialogue with these different aspects of ourselves. For instance, one might imagine sitting with both their inner light, perhaps appearing as a radiant figure, and their shadow may be manifesting as a darker form. The key is not to judge or attempt to change either aspect but to listen and understand their unique roles and wisdom. This practice helps develop a more nuanced and accepting relationship with all parts of our psyche. The integration process often reveals surprising insights. What we initially perceived as dark might contain valuable strengths or protective qualities, while our light aspects might sometimes mask rigidity or spiritual bypassing. By maintaining an open dialogue with both, we begin to experience their complementary nature rather than seeing them as opposing forces. Active imagination exercises focused on polarity integration might involve creating art that expresses both elements simultaneously, writing dialogues between light and dark aspects of ourselves, or engaging in movement practices that embody different energetic qualities. The goal is not to achieve a perfect balance, but to develop the capacity to flow between these different aspects of our nature as circumstances require. Working with polarities also extends beyond personal psychology into our relationship with the collective unconscious. As we become more accepting of our own light and dark aspects, we naturally develop greater compassion for humanity's collective struggles with these same dynamics. This broader perspective helps us navigate social relationships with more wisdom and less judgment. The practice of embracing both light and dark requires considerable courage and patience. It often challenges our established self-image and can temporarily increase psychological tension as we learn to hold space for seemingly contradictory aspects of ourselves. However, this tension itself becomes a creative force, generating new insights and possibilities for psychological growth. Physical practices can support this integration work: breathing exercises that alternate between expansion and contraction, movement practices that explore both flowing and resistant qualities, or artistic expressions that combine different elements can help embody the unity of opposites. These practical applications help ground our psychological insights in lived experience. As integration deepens, we begin to experience a more fluid relationship with all aspects of our being. Rather than identifying exclusively with either light or dark qualities, we develop the capacity to access the full spectrum of human experience. This psychological flexibility allows for more authentic self-expression and more effective engagement with life's challenges and opportunities. The ultimate goal of this work is not to achieve a static state of perfection, but to develop a dynamic relationship with the whole range of human experience. Through this process, we discover that true psychological wholeness isn't about eliminating darkness, but about dancing with both light and shadow in an ever-evolving partnership that enriches and deepens our experience of life. Lesson 7: Living authentically despite social pressures. Living authentically in a world full of social pressures requires tremendous courage and unwavering commitment to one's inner truth. The path of individuation, as Jung described it, inevitably leads to moments where we must choose between conforming to societal expectations and honoring our deepest nature. These pressures don't just come from external sources but are often internalized through years of conditioning, making them particularly challenging to recognize and overcome. The journey toward authentic living begins with becoming aware of the various masks we wear in different social contexts. These personas serve a practical purpose in helping us navigate social situations, but problems arise when we become overly identified with them and lose touch with our genuine selves. Through active imagination, we can dialogue with these different aspects of ourselves, understanding their origins and the fears that maintain them. Social conditioning runs deep in our psyche, often masquerading as our own thoughts and desires. Many people spend years pursuing goals and living lifestyles that reflect societal values rather than their own authentic wishes. The process of differentiation involves carefully examining our choices, beliefs, and actions to determine which truly resonate with our inner nature and which are merely adaptations to external pressures. Resistance to authentic living often comes from those closest to us. Family members, friends, and colleagues may react with concern, criticism, or outright rejection when we begin to express our true nature. This opposition stems from their own fears and the threat that authentic people pose to established social structures. Understanding this dynamic helps us respond with compassion while maintaining our commitment to personal truth. Building psychological resilience becomes essential for maintaining authenticity in the face of social pressure. This involves developing a strong connection to our inner authority and learning to trust our intuition even when it conflicts with conventional wisdom. Active imagination practices can help strengthen this inner connection by providing direct experience of our deeper wisdom and values. The process of individuation naturally creates tension between individual expression and social harmony. Rather than completely rejecting social norms, the goal is to find creative ways to express our authenticity while maintaining meaningful connections with others. This might involve selecting environments and relationships that support our growth while developing diplomatic skills to navigate less supportive situations. Maintaining individuality requires regular renewal of our commitment to authentic living. Social pressures are constant and subtle, making it easy to slip back into unconscious patterns of conformity. Regular practice of active imagination helps us stay connected to our inner truth and quickly recognize when we're being pulled off center by external influences. Working with symbolic images through active imagination can reveal powerful allies in our quest for authentic living. These might appear as inner figures who embody qualities of strength, wisdom, or protection. Developing relationships with these archetypal energies provides internal support when facing external opposition to our authentic expression. The challenge of authentic living also involves discerning between healthy adaptation and compromise of core values. Not every social expectation needs to be rejected, and sometimes flexibility serves our authentic development better than rigid nonconformity. Active imagination can help us explore these nuances and make choices that truly serve our individuation process. Creating and maintaining boundaries becomes an essential skill for authentic living. This includes both external boundaries with others and internal boundaries that protect our connection to our true nature. Through regular dialogue with the unconscious, we can develop increasingly subtle awareness of when these boundaries need strengthening or adjustment. Living authentically is not a destination but an ongoing process of alignment with our deeper nature. It requires constant attention, courage, and willingness to face discomfort. Yet the rewards of authentic living, increased vitality, deeper relationships, and a sense of fulfillment make the challenge worthwhile. Through consistent practice of active imagination, we can maintain our connection to inner truth while navigating the complex demands of social life. Lesson 8: Cultivating deeper awareness of unconscious patterns. The journey into the depths of our unconscious patterns requires both patience and dedication, as these deeply ingrained ways of being often operate beneath our conscious awareness. Through active imagination, we can begin to recognize and work with these patterns in a meaningful way that leads to greater psychological integration and personal growth. Pattern recognition begins with careful observation of our daily lives, particularly noting recurring situations, relationships, and emotional responses that seem to follow familiar trajectories. These patterns often manifest first in our dreams, where the unconscious mind speaks to us through symbolic language. Dreams serve as a direct channel to our unconscious patterns, presenting them in ways that bypass our usual emotional and mental defenses. Working with dreams requires developing a regular practice of dream recall and documentation. Upon waking, take time to record dreams in detail, noting not just the narrative elements but also the emotions, sensations, and atmospheric qualities present. These subtle aspects often contain crucial information about unconscious patterns that may be influencing your waking life. The symbolic language of the unconscious extends beyond dreams into daily life through synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that seem to carry personal significance. Pay attention to recurring numbers, animals, or situations that catch your attention. These synchronistic events often point to unconscious patterns seeking recognition and integration. Active imagination provides a structured way to engage with these patterns directly. By entering a meditative state and allowing images and scenarios to arise spontaneously, we can interact with the symbolic representations of our unconscious patterns. This interaction helps bring awareness to previously hidden aspects of our psyche and allows for conscious engagement with these patterns. The practice of pattern recognition requires developing a particular kind of attention, one that notices both outer events and inner responses simultaneously. This dual awareness helps identify the connection between external triggers and internal reactive patterns. Regular journaling can help track these connections and reveal recurring themes in your psychological life. Working with unconscious patterns also involves paying attention to bodily sensations and physical responses. The body often carries wisdom about our patterns that the conscious mind has yet to recognize. Physical symptoms, recurring tensions, or spontaneous movements may all be expressions of unconscious patterns seeking acknowledgement. Symbolic interpretation plays a crucial role in understanding unconscious patterns. Rather than taking symbols literally, learn to approach them with curiosity and openness to multiple meanings. A symbol that appears in dreams or active imagination may carry personal significance that differs from its conventional cultural interpretation. Trust your intuitive response while remaining open to deeper layers of meaning. The practice of active imagination can be enhanced by creating artwork, movement, or music that expresses the patterns you're discovering. These creative expressions often reveal aspects of patterns that might remain hidden in purely verbal or analytical approaches. Allow your unconscious to speak through various creative mediums without judgment or censorship. Developing awareness of unconscious patterns requires regular practice and dedication to self-observation. Set aside time each day for reflection, whether through meditation, journaling, or creative expression. These dedicated periods of inner focus help build the psychological muscles necessary for pattern recognition and integration. As awareness of unconscious patterns grows, resist the urge to immediately change or fix them. Sometimes simple awareness is enough to initiate natural transformation. Other patterns may require more active engagement through dialogue, symbolic work, or behavioral changes. Trust the wisdom of your psyche to guide the process of pattern integration at its own pace. The goal of cultivating deeper awareness of unconscious patterns is not to eliminate them entirely but to bring them into conscious relationship with our daily lives. This integration allows for greater choice in how we respond to triggering situations and more flexibility in our psychological responses. Through patient attention and regular practice, we can develop a rich and meaningful dialogue with the patterns that shape our inner and outer lives. Final lesson: transforming psychological wounds into wisdom. The journey of transforming psychological wounds into wisdom represents one of the most profound aspects of Jungian psychology and active imagination work. Our deepest wounds often contain the seeds of our greatest gifts. Much like the ancient alchemists understood that base metals could be transformed into gold through specific processes. This transformation requires us to approach our wounds not as permanent scars to be hidden, but as doorways to profound personal evolution. When we encounter psychological wounds, our natural tendency is to avoid or suppress them. However, through active imagination, we can create a safe container to explore these tender spaces within ourselves. The process begins with acknowledging the wound without judgment, allowing ourselves to feel its full impact while maintaining a witness consciousness. This dual awareness, being both the experiencer and the observer, creates the necessary psychological space for transformation to occur. The alchemical process of turning wounds into wisdom involves several stages of engagement. First, we must make conscious contact with the wounded aspects of ourselves through imagery, dialogue, or artistic expression. A childhood trauma, for instance, might appear in active imagination as a scared child hiding in a dark room. Instead of trying to immediately fix or save this aspect, we sit with it, listen to its story, and allow its truth to emerge fully. As we develop a relationship with our wounds through active imagination, we begin to notice that they carry specific energies and patterns. These patterns often manifest in our current life situations, relationships, and emotional responses. By working with these patterns consciously, we can begin to extract their essential wisdom. A wound of abandonment, for example, might reveal profound teachings about self-reliance and the nature of love. The transformation process requires us to hold seemingly contradictory truths simultaneously. Our wounds are both real and valid, yet they also contain illusions and distortions that need to be seen through. Through active imagination, we can dialogue with both the wounded part and the wise part of ourselves, allowing these aspects to interact and integrate. This interaction often reveals that our wounds have been protecting or preserving something valuable within us: a sensitivity, a truth, or a capacity for deep feeling. Working with psychological wounds through active imagination also involves engaging with the archetypal dimension of our experience. Our personal wounds often connect to universal human experiences of loss, betrayal, rejection, or powerlessness. By recognizing this archetypal dimension, we begin to understand our individual suffering as part of the larger human story, which can provide both perspective and meaning to our pain. The wisdom that emerges from transformed wounds has unique characteristics. It tends to be embodied rather than merely intellectual, compassionate rather than judgmental, and integrative rather than divisive. This wisdom often manifests as an increased capacity to hold space for others' pain, a deeper understanding of human nature, and an ability to find meaning in difficulty. Our wounds, once transformed, become sources of genuine empathy and insight. Active imagination provides specific tools for this transformative work. We might engage in dialogue with our wound as if it were a character in a story, create art that expresses both the pain and the emerging wisdom, or work with symbolic objects that represent different aspects of our experience. The key is to maintain a creative and curious attitude while engaging with these painful aspects of ourselves. Through consistent practice, we begin to trust this transformative process. We learn that our wounds are not mistakes to be corrected but rather initiations into deeper wisdom. This understanding fundamentally shifts our relationship with psychological pain, allowing us to approach it with reverence rather than resistance. The wisdom gained through this process becomes an integral part of our psychological resources, informing how we navigate both personal challenges and our interactions with others.